I never thought my own family would take away my moment. Yet there I was, standing in the dining room doorway, my portfolio slipping from my hands, scattering economic reports across my mother's polished wooden floor. The sound barely registered as I took in the strange scene in front of me. Before my brilliant sister shares her economic insights, let me first warm up the audience with a few words about our family's charitable history, Bianca practiced, her voice clear and confident as if speaking to an imaginary crowd. She stood near the mahogany china cabinet, one hand raised in a graceful gesture, while Mother nodded approvingly from her chair at the table. "Perfect tone, darling," Mother said. Not too formal, but it sets the right context. They were so absorbed in their rehearsal that they hadn't noticed I had arrived early for what was supposed to be my celebratory dinner, organized in honor of my invitation as keynote speaker at next month's International Aid Foundation Gala. Mother spotted me first. Her smile faltered for a moment before she recovered with practiced warmth. "Odette, you're early." Bianca turned, her expression shifting from surprise to something close to pity. "Oh, don't look so shocked. You know you'll freeze up there without some help." My chest tightened as a memory surfaced sharply. I was 12, sitting at the piano for the Christmas recital, fingers ready for my solo. Then Bianca appeared beside me, nervously holding her violin. "Honey, Bianca will join you," Mom had announced to the audience. "They always perform better together." I had spent weeks perfecting that piece alone. Bianca has the charm. Odette has the brains. They need each other, Dad would often say whenever I accomplished something academically. Meanwhile, Bianca's popularity always earned her individual praise. My scholarship dinner became about Bianca's student council role. My graduate school acceptance was overshadowed by Bianca's engagement party. I knelt to gather my scattered papers, my fingers trembling as I picked up the economic research I had worked on for months. The familiar knot of disappointment twisted inside me, but this time something else rose with it, something stronger. "This is my invitation," I said, my voice steadier than expected. "The organizers asked for me alone." Mother's smile stiffened. She glanced at Bianca before standing to adjust the table. "Don't be selfish, dear. Bianca can help warm up the crowd." "It's not about selfishness," I replied, stacking my papers and realizing my hands had stopped shaking. "It's about respecting that I was chosen for my expertise." "But you get nervous during presentations," Bianca countered, reaching for a glass. "Remember that economics conference last year? You practically whispered your findings." I straightened, holding my portfolio against my chest like armor. "I've been working with a speaking coach. I don't need an introduction." Just then the front door opened and closed. Dad appeared carrying his briefcase and a bottle of champagne. "Sorry I'm late." Traffic was terrible. "Is everyone ready to celebrate our keynote speaker?" "We're discussing the presentation format," Mother replied carefully. "Bianca has offered to introduce Odette at the gala." "Excellent idea," Dad said, setting his briefcase down and moving toward the bar cart. "It's just a short introduction, Odette. It will take the pressure off." I looked at them. 3 of them standing together on one side of the room, me alone on the other. The realization struck hard. If I refused, I risked upsetting the family. If I agreed, I would once again give away my own achievement to their story, that I could not succeed without Bianca's polish. My throat tightened as the truth became clear. They had never really seen me. Not the research that brought international recognition, not my ability to explain complex economics that earned me this invitation. They only saw the quiet 12-year-old girl who needed her sister beside her. I squared my shoulders. "No introductions. This is my presentation, mine alone." The air in the room shifted. This was no longer the usual script. And for once I didn't care. 2 days later, the subject line glared at me from my laptop screen. International Aid Foundation Gala. Contingency Plan. My stomach tightened as I clicked, already expecting the worst, but still hoping I was wrong. "Dear Miss Bennett," Bianca had written to the event organizer, While my sister is certainly qualified to discuss economic theory, she sometimes struggles with public speaking. I'd be happy to step in if she gets nervous or runs out of material. Our parents agree this arrangement would be best for everyone involved. The room seemed to tilt sideways. I clutched the desk, stunned. This wasn't quiet acceptance of my parents' favoritism, this was direct sabotage. Bianca had gone behind my back to undermine me. What cut deeper was seeing my parents copied on the email. Their reply sat right beneath. Eleanor, we think this is an excellent suggestion. Odette has brilliant ideas but has always benefited from Bianca's social polish. We're so proud of both our girls working together. My hands shook as I searched through my inbox. More messages appeared, evidence of betrayal stretching back months. An email to the Economic Policy Institute where I'd been invited to speak. My sister will be presenting research findings. I'd like to discuss how I might contribute. Another to my University Alumni Association about a graduate panel. Every time, Bianca had inserted herself as if she were essential to my success. That evening, Mother called cheerfully. Aunt Margaret is coming tomorrow. She'll attend the gala and wants to have lunch with us first. The next day, I arrived at my parents' home to find the family already gathered at the table. Predictably, Father and Mother sat at the head, with Bianca prominently placed beside them. I slipped into the only empty seat at the far end, the distance reflecting my isolation. I've been looking forward to your presentation at the gala, Aunt Margaret said warmly. Before I could answer, Bianca set down her glass with a soft clink. I'm having the most stunning dress made for our big night. Midnight blue silk. It'll look perfect on the foundation's website. Our big night? I repeated evenly. Mother patted Bianca's hand. I've already told the Hendersons and the Blackwells that Bianca will introduce you. They're excited to see both Marshall girls on stage. I never agreed to that, I said, gripping my napkin. Father cleared his throat. I mentioned to Eleanor that Bianca could step in if your speech runs short. The foundation needs to keep donor interest strong. My fork slipped against my plate. You did what? Across the table, Aunt Margaret studied me, her eyes narrowing as she registered my family's casual dismissal of my accomplishment. In that moment, the reality became clear. This wasn't about a single speech. The International Aid Foundation Gala would host global economic leaders, people whose recognition could shape my career. If I let my family diminish me again, I wouldn't just lose this chance. I would also confirm the story that had followed me since childhood. Odette, the helper, never the star. Despite my achievements, published research, a respected role at the think tank, the expertise that earned me this invitation, I felt doubt rising. What if I froze on stage? What if my work sounded too dry, too academic? The old weight of insecurity pressed heavily against my chest. This won't end unless you stop it now, a quiet voice urged inside me. Odette, we invested a lot in your education, Father said, mistaking my silence as agreement. It's time to be a team player. The family has always supported you. Lunch dragged on, Bianca dominating the conversation with details of her dress, her prepared remarks, even suggestions for how I should style my hair. I sat quietly, picking at my food, fading into the background of my own story. As everyone moved toward the living room for coffee, Aunt Margaret stayed behind and touched my arm gently. I need to tell you something, she said, her voice calm but firm. I've seen this for 30 years, first with your mother and me, and now with you and Bianca. It's time you stood up for yourself. Her words stayed with me as I drove home that night, my thoughts heavy with clarity. A question I had avoided my whole life now demanded an answer. Should I claim my place, even if it risked damaging lifelong relationships, or compromise again and give up my own spotlight? Bianca's email was still open on my laptop when I returned. Her words no longer surprised me. They revealed the challenge ahead and the cost of staying silent. Monday morning brought a storm I should have seen coming. My phone buzzed with alerts as I stepped into the elevator at work. Bianca's new Instagram post showed her smiling at the camera, shopping for the perfect outfit to help her shy but brilliant sister at the charity gala. Proud sister. Family support. My stomach turned as I read the comments. Dozens of likes already, including from 3 colleagues. In the break room, Karen from accounting smiled. Your sister seems excited to introduce you at the gala. Public speaking not your thing? I forced a smile. Actually, I'm the keynote speaker. Bianca isn't part of the program. Karen's eyebrows rose. Oh, I assumed since she said she was helping you. That's what sisters do, I guess. By lunch, whispers followed me down the hallway. I caught fragments. Through family connections, probably, and her sister knows everyone in charity circles. At 3 p.m., my office phone rang. Director Williams's voice was unusually formal. Odette, could you stop by? Something's come up about the International Aid Foundation event. In his office, he gestured to the chair. Your mother called this morning, he said. The words hit like ice water. She called you? I asked. She suggested your sister might represent the family at future events. But the invitation was for your economic expertise. I wasn't aware this was a family matter. It's not, I replied, heat rising in my voice. They invited me for my research on sustainable development funding. My family just sees it differently. That evening, I found my apartment door unlocked. Bianca's perfume filled the air, just dropping off some outfit options. She called from my bedroom. I walked in to see my presentation materials scattered across my bed. I looked through your slides, she said, holding a page covered in her handwriting. I marked the points to emphasize and added transitions to make it more engaging. My throat tightened. You changed my presentation without asking? Just small tweaks, she waved off. You get too technical. Regular people tune out. After she left, I spent hours restoring the order of my notes, questioning every detail. Did this chart belong in the introduction or conclusion? Was this statistic placed here for a reason? That night, I lay awake hearing Bianca's words. You'll freeze up without help. What if she was right? What if I failed without her charm? I heard my father's old refrain echo. Bianca has the charm. Odette has the brains. Years of conditioning didn't vanish overnight. Maybe I really did need her. But Thursday brought an unexpected shift. An unfamiliar number lit up my phone. Dr. Marshall? This is Eleanor Bennett from the International Aid Foundation. I braced for bad news. I'm confirming final details for next week, she said warmly. We're thrilled to have you. Your research is exactly what our donors need. We're fortunate to have you as keynote. Her words felt like cool water on a burn. I asked that only authorized speakers be allowed on stage. She noted it and promised confirmation by email. 3 days before the gala, I went to my parents' house for Sunday dinner. Bianca stood in the living room wearing a stunning emerald gown. Mother adjusted the neckline. We've arranged for you both to arrive together. Bianca will handle the red carpet photos. Something inside me shifted. No longer the usual nod of resignation, but a steadier resolve. No. The word came clear, even surprising me. Mother froze. Excuse me? This is my professional achievement, not a family performance. I stayed seated, but my voice carried authority. Father lowered his newspaper. You've always been a team. Why change now? Because I'm no longer a supporting character in my own life. I earned this invitation with years of research, not charm or connections. My work? The silence that followed felt like the most honest moment we had shared in years. Later, my phone chimed with a text from Aunt Margaret. I'd be honored to accompany you to the gala, just us. Minutes later, an email from Eleanor confirmed. Only authorized speakers will have stage access. The difference was striking. My supporters respected boundaries, while my family ignored them. The next morning, I practiced my speech again. This time, my voice didn't shake. I no longer began with an apology before making my points. I also made a secure backup of my presentation and stored it at the office. Eleanor's confirmation email arrives with unexpected details. Speakers will be given special green wristbands that limit stage access. The gala evening approaches on Wednesday. I take my carefully chosen dress from its garment bag and stop cold. Along the seam is a small deliberate tear, positioned where the stage lights would highlight it most. Thankfully, I prepared a backup. I slip into the softer fabric of my second dress, relieved by my foresight. It lacks the intricate beading of my first choice, but its clean lines and quiet elegance project competence. Exactly the impression I need tonight. Better than expected, I whisper to my reflection, smoothing the burgundy fabric. The shade deepens my complexion, giving me a vibrancy I don't fully feel. My phone buzzes with another message from Mother. Where are you? We're leaving in 10 minutes. I leave it unanswered, a small act of defiance that makes my pulse quicken. Instead, I call the car service I booked yesterday. Your driver is 5 minutes away, Dr. Marshall, the dispatcher confirms. 20 minutes later, I stand in front of the International Aid Foundation building, its glass reflecting the setting sun. Holding my portfolio tightly, I step inside alone. Dr. Marshall. Eleanor hurries across the marble floor, her practical heels striking in rhythm. You're wonderfully early. Let me show you the stage. The auditorium opens wide, rows of empty chairs awaiting the audience. Eleanor leads me to the podium, explaining microphone adjustments and lighting cues. I practice standing tall behind it, pressing my palms against its solid surface. The sponsors will be seated here. She points to the front row before handing me a green wristband. This gives you access to the preparation area and stage. Back in the green room, I review my notes again, highlighting key impact statements. When Eleanor returns with two distinguished gentlemen, I stand to greet them. Dr. Marshall, may I introduce Ambassador Chen and Dr. Abernathy? They're very interested in your work on sustainable development. I shake their hands, surprised at the steadiness of my voice. I'm honored you could be here tonight. Half an hour into the reception, a commotion near the stage entrance draws my attention. Bianca stands at the checkpoint, her raised voice carrying across the room. This must be a mistake. I'm part of the presentation, she insists, trying to step past security. Her blue dress, clearly chosen to echo what would have been my original outfit, sparkles under the lights. The guard stays firm. I'm sorry, ma'am. Only green wristbands allowed beyond this point. But I'm the speaker's sister, Bianca presses. I'm introducing her. That's not on the program, ma'am, the guard replies. Several donors glance over, their curiosity shifting into discomfort as Bianca's voice grows sharper. Mother and father hover nearby, father gesturing for calm while Bianca refuses to yield. From across the room, I notice my boss, Dr. Wellington, watching with raised brows before meeting my gaze. I shrug lightly and turn away, heat rising up my neck. As Bianca is escorted back to her seat, I wonder, should I acknowledge the awkwardness on stage or continue as if nothing happened? Would addressing it clear the tension or create more? The seating itself tells its own story. Aunt Margaret deliberately chooses a table near the front, apart from my family, and gives me a reassuring nod when our eyes meet. My colleague Dr. Reynolds positions himself at an angle from my family's table. Catching my eye, he taps his watch, the signal that he'll intervene with a distraction if needed. When the lights dim to signal the beginning of the program, Eleanor appears at my side. Ready? She asks, offering her arm with a gesture so respectful it nearly overwhelms me. For the first time in my life, someone is supporting my moment rather than trying to control it. More than ready, I reply, standing taller. We walk toward the stage, Eleanor's presence shielding me from interruption. As we pass the family table, Dr. Reynolds engages my father in conversation, preventing him from stepping in. From my view near the stage steps, I see my mother's fixed smile starting to falter, her fingers tapping nervously on the tablecloth as she realizes she cannot interfere. Beside her, Bianca shifts uneasily, aware of the curious looks from those who witnessed her earlier behavior. Whispers reach my ears. Wasn't she the one security had to... The master of ceremonies taps the microphone. Good evening, distinguished guests. Thank you for supporting the International Aid Foundation's important work. He pauses, scanning the room. It is my great honor to introduce tonight's keynote speaker, the renowned economist Dr. Odette Marshall. Eleanor gently squeezes my arm before letting go. I climb the steps alone, my heart racing but my steps steady. For once, no one is walking ahead of me and no one waits to take my place. This is my moment. I approach the podium, my heels clicking against the polished floor. The spotlight warms my face, surprisingly comforting. From the corner of my eye, I see Bianca rise, smoothing her emerald dress as she heads toward the stage. There must be some confusion, Father calls, waving at the MC as if flagging a waiter. Mother leans toward the couple beside her, her voice carrying, "Both daughters are presenting tonight." Family tradition, you know. Bianca flashes her practiced smile, the one stretched too tightly on holiday cards. Father now stands, gesturing urgently, his program clutched like a baton. A security guard with silver-streaked hair steps smoothly into Bianca's path. Sorry, ma'am. Only authorized presenters beyond this point. Her firm tone allows no argument. I steady the microphone. My notes sit before me, but I barely need them. Years of work and preparation converge in this moment. Good evening, I begin, my voice calm and clear. I'm Dr. Odette Marshall, and tonight I'll share research on sustainable economic development in rural communities. The words come easily. I explain complex data with confidence, supported by graphs and charts I created over months of research. I'd like to thank those who truly supported me, I add, meeting Aunt Margaret's proud gaze. Eleanor smiles from the front row. Pens scratch, tablets click, and the CEO of Global Resources leans forward, deeply engaged in my analysis of allocation models. My research demonstrates, I continue, gaining momentum, that when overlooked voices are empowered within economic systems, entire communities, not only the marginalized, benefit. The spotlight intensifies as I reach my conclusion. My shadow stretches long across the stage and the room sits silent, focused. Even the wait staff pause to listen. Before closing, I add, I want to share a personal observation. True growth happens only when individuals step into their own light, instead of living in someone else's shadow. From the family table, Bianca begins clapping too early, her voice rising. That's exactly what our family has always— Excuse me, interrupts the silver-haired chairperson of International Aid. I'd like to hear the rest of Dr. Marshall's remarks. The room quiets instantly. Attention shifts back to me, not my sister, not my parents. For once, my family fades into the background. I stand taller. When systems validate every voice on merit rather than privilege, we don't just create balance, we restore human dignity. And dignity, I say, meeting the eyes of donors across the room, is the foundation of every sustainable future. Applause erupts before I finish, filling the ballroom with thunderous energy. The MC shakes my hand. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's event has generated record-breaking pledges. Dr. Marshall's research has truly inspired us. As I step away, people approach with business cards in hand. World Bank, UN Development Program, Global Economic Forum. Dr. Marshall, your model could strengthen our Southeast Asia initiative, one says. Your work on microfinance is exactly what our Africa program needs, adds another. Across the room, my family sits in silence. My mother whispers urgently to Bianca, gripping her wrist. But Bianca's expression shows something new. Not envy, but shock, as if realizing the impossible has happened. For the first time, I feel no urge to check their reactions. The spotlight is exactly where it belongs. Months later, morning light pours into a conference hall at the International Economic Summit. 6 months have passed since the gala, and now I stand at the podium, leading global discussions on sustainable development. Before we break for lunch, I'd like to introduce Dr. Helena Rivera, whose research on agricultural economics complements our session, I announce, my voice carrying easily without a microphone. The words flow naturally now, no hesitation, no apologies. When a question arises from the back about conflicting data sets, I step forward confidently. That discrepancy highlights a key methodological issue, I explain, engaging directly. The room leans in, every notepad ready. Even Ambassador Thornton, known for his constant skepticism, nods with reluctant approval. My colleagues no longer introduce me with qualifiers like though she's a bit quiet or despite her reserved nature. Instead, they reference my work directly, as Dr. Marshall noted in her recent publication, or according to Odette's framework. The change is not only in their perception, but in how I carry myself. Shoulders steady, eyes forward, voice firm. Later that evening, I sit again at my parents' dining table, the stage of many past dismissals. The scene feels nearly identical to that night 6 months ago. Mother's polished silverware, father's crystal glasses, Bianca seated in her familiar place of importance. So, this conference in Stockholm, father begins while cutting his steak. Will you present alone or with a panel? Solo presentation, followed by a round table, I reply, noticing my calm appetite, so unlike earlier family dinners when anxiety made food impossible. Bianca pauses, her fork midair. I've been reading about effective presentation methods. I could help you design some audience engagement strategies. Thank you, but I have it covered, I respond evenly, sipping my water. The words linger between us. My parents exchange a quick glance but remain silent. The silence this time feels less like judgment and more like a hesitant form of respect. The following weekend, Aunt Margaret hosts a small gathering in her garden apartment. Eleanor Bennett arrives with champagne, and Dr. Reynolds brings an elaborate charcuterie board. The conversation flows freely, absent of rivalry or subtle put-downs. To finding your voice, Aunt Margaret declares, raising her glass as the sunset casts a golden light, and to those who truly listen. She then hands me a small package. Inside is a framed photograph from the Gala. Me at the podium, captured mid-gesture, explaining a complex idea to an attentive audience. The silver frame carries an engraved plate, your spotlight. A week later in my office, I read the invitation delivered that morning. The World Economic Forum requests a keynote on sustainable growth models. Around me, the walls now display framed awards and recognitions collected over the past 6 months. My calendar, once left empty to meet family demands, is now filled with speaking events, consultations, and research presentations. My phone buzzes. It's my mother, her third call this week, each less strained than before. This time she asks with caution if they might attend my presentation at the upcoming local business forum. As I look at her name on the screen, I wonder, can family ties truly shift, or must certain boundaries remain unshaken? Is forgiveness possible without risking the old patterns of dismissal? Or does protecting confidence sometimes require keeping distance?